Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? Welcome to today's powerful broadcast. We have a very, very important guest um, that we're expecting to join us today. All I want you to do, we're not going to be in a hurry, but all I want you to do is to go ahead and please invite as many people as possible. You just can't afford to deny a lot of people the ability to be part of this discussion today. So please go ahead and invite as many people as possible. Please just go ahead and invite people. I'm going to try to bring Omoyele Sowore in, and we will take it from there. This is an opportunity for you to listen and hear from the person himself. Okay, these are the people who were around. I've told you people that there are comrades and there are comrades. There's so many wannabes. It's almost like an insult when you call some people comrade and you call people like what's his name? This one in Edo State, Oshomole. You still call someone like Oshomore comrade Oshomore? Me, I think it's an insult. There are people who are comrades, and these are the kind of people that we bring here, and that is somebody like Omoyele Sowore. We are bringing people to teach us those things. They thought that by not letting us, know history, that they were doing us in. For where we are bringing the people that know history to come and lecture us again. And people like Omoyele Sowore, who is also a lecturer in a university, they are the best people to invite at a time like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring in our midst Omoyele Sowore. Hey, Baba Show.
It's nice to be here. Let me say happy holidays to the viewers and our friends, our colleagues, our supporters, our families. We're all one. We are connected in several ways. And we're connected in multiple ways. We are connected. Uh, you know, we are conjoined now in this struggle for true democracy and revolution for our country. So thank you so much for bringing me on.
Yeah, thank you, Omoyele Sowore. It's always like a breath of fresh air when we get a chance to bring you on. Just to let you guys know, you're gonna have a chance to call him, but that will be much much later, not at the beginning of the program. This is the time when you use your cutting board and clean your ear so that you can listen. Now, without wasting time, Moyle Shore, I want you to tell us what democracy has become in Nigeria today. When somebody is talking about democracy, as the government of Nigeria is trying so hard to celebrate Democracy Day, what is what is your impression of democracy in Nigeria now? If you were to define what, if you were to paint a picture of what democracy is in Nigeria right now, what would you say it is?
I'll use the analogy of a vehicle whose engine has been removed, but to give an impression that it's still moving. Some people hid behind it and are pushing it. That's what democracy has become in Nigeria. It's like a subterfuge. So, and is what you just mentioned in Edo State today, where a governor who had spent 4 years in power, they suddenly discovered that he doesn't have a certificate, right? And they spin him out. That is not democracy. That is what we used to call in those days in the US. My friends used to call it morontocracy. You you know the definition of democracy. Where you put people, just put morons. It's a government by morons for morons. It's unbelievable. And you're right when you were saying like, they bastardize this word comrade. That I don't like to be called a comrade openly. You can call me a comrade in a private chat, but don't call me a comrade uh, in public. Otherwise, I'll sue you.
Why?
It's been bastardized. I mean, look at what the Shomoles are doing to the concept and context of comradeship. Because people who are called comrades are people who are believed to be, you know, co-fighters in honest struggles. And I discussed with Shomole a lot before when we were running for election and I was campaigning. I was asked, I think it was in Germany or somewhere or Spain. Somebody was asking me, look at what the Shomole did. How can we trust you because you come from the movement? And I said to him, like, see, this is why history is important. You would have known that Shomole never participated in a struggle for democracy. He never did.
Hmm.
Shomole might have been a labor leader, in the textile labor union, but Shomole, I participated in marches, protests, sit at home. I've never met Shomole before in
Hmm.
any of our activities during the pro-democracy days. Never. And somebody who can quote me otherwise should provide me the evidence, any video where Oshiomhole participated in a march during the June 12th era, which was, for me, the apogee of the pro-democracy era, a movement. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Oshiomhole was never part of it. Oshiomhole has always been who he is, a crook. He was comfortable in Abuja when activists were going on the ground, running around, running away. He was in this Abuja having fun with Abacha. How can you claim so? Oshiomhole only became popular when Obasanjo came to power. When they were doing what they call a rub bombo, rub my back, I rub your back. That was the kind of activism he was doing. So honestly, I'm not surprised at what Oshiomhole is doing.
All right.
These
So you,
are the
you
people playing the machine of oppression in the country
so tell
and
us about
corruption.
tell us about this pro democracy movement, because I said today is about history. A lot of people have come up with their impression of what they thought happened that time. Who was in this pro democracy movement? What roles did people play in that pro democracy movement period?
Um, I will mention a few people, and in mentioning their names or their roles, I will apologize that because I can't mention everybody. If your name is not mentioned or I have not referred to you here, it's not because you didn't participate, it's because there's no time to do it. But for me, Wale Soyinka, Beko Ransom Kuti, Gani Fawemi, Frank Kokori, uh, Anthony Nahoro, Abraham Adesanya, Pa Adekunle Ajashin, Commodore retired Dan Suleiman, this guy Dangiwa, who is a colonel in the army, and the Ndubisi Kano, Ayo Okpadokun, Ayo Adebanjo, John Odigi Oyegu. Some of them, I refer to them as of blessed memory. They are still alive, but because they are doing opposite of Dr. Tai Sholari, Bola Ige, late. Um, we have, I cannot forget Bakoba, right? Uh, Olisa Bakoba, Ayobe, uh, Olusegun Mayegun, who was NAS president then, people like Nasir Okura, um, you know, people like, even Michael Zekome,
Really?
yes, Yinka Odumakin, Shehu Sani, this
Oh
senator,
wow,
yes,
wow,
even Joe Igbokwe of blessed memory, he's still alive, but Joe Igbokwe has become,
interesting.
yes, my most powerful lawyer, Femi Falana,
Wow.
Femi Falana, yes, very powerful. People like Kunle Ajibade, who's a powerful journalist in those days. Um, Bolaji Akinyemi, uh, people like Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi of blessed memory.
So,
Yes, you wanted to, yes, many
so,
of
so,
them,
so, hold on, because there's people are asking,
so
why are you saying, blessed memory to people who are still living?
they are, in my view, anybody who has held on to the principle of progress and who has now come out to stand against those principles to the point that their activities is destroying lives, is destroying aspirations, destroying hope for the future for any nation. Those people are of blessed memory. I'm being nice by saying blessed memory. They have passed. These are people, in my view, who have entered into the dustbin of history as ignominious people. That's what I mean.
Wow. Okay, so what was the reason for this movement, as it were? Then, why did you guys decide to resist the government of the day? What was going on then, prior to that period?
So it was Babangida was the military head of state at that time. He was dictator. He had kicked out Buhari in 1985. Buhari was dictator between 1983 and 1985, having kicked out a democratically elected government of Shehu Shagari. So when Babangida came, he gave the impression that he was interested in a transition program. As students and pro-democracy people, we knew he was lying. And we kept warning Nigerians that this man doesn't have any plans to hand over power. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Yes, to hand over power to civilians. And people didn't believe us. So, you know, he organized these fake elections, created parties. He said one was to the left and one was the right of center. He started using all kinds of political jargons. And then in the process, he was also using the transition program to loot the economy. In 1990 or thereabout, during the Gulf War, he stole about $12 billion or squandered, whichever way you want to call it, in one fell swoop. So when Abiola and Tofa registered and became member of the party he created, we also warned them that this man doesn't have plans to uh, hand over power to civilians, and they didn't believe us. So when elections were held, NAS at that time, the National Association of Nigerian Students, the Campaign for Democracy, and other groups did not actually want to participate in the election. But because we wanted to give way for what they said was going to happen, we let it happen. When Babangida, out of his power drunkenness with his friends, both civilians in the traditional, temporal, religious world, decided to strike, it was an opportunity for us to show the military out of power. So it was a struggle to remove the military from Nigeria's stage. But we had started the struggle before even the election. And we are convinced ourselves that whether the elections are free and fair or not, the military must go. In fact, I had participated in a very powerful protest in 1992. Uh, yes, the Babangida must go protest because he had been postponing the elections on a regular basis. The transition program had become something that he was just using to fool Nigerians. So he kept changing the handover date and the transition date. So these are some of the facts that I can give you that you may not find in history because they went ahead and destroyed history and banned the teaching of history in universities and colleges and high schools and primary schools in Nigeria for the purpose of not letting the younger ones know what is happening. And what I'm telling you happened between 1989 and 1993. That was the worst part of the struggle. And of course, when the elections were announced, Abacha came to office, and we had to continue the struggle against military rule. By the time we started the struggle against Abacha, a lot of the people who fought for June 12 had fallen by the wayside. People like Alaji Latif Jakondi, people like Ebenezer Babatope, and a lot of people. Uh, that's why their names are not appearing on my list, of course. Uh, so that was what happened.
Okay, when you were doing this, were you what were you? Were you working? Were you a student?
I was,
What
and
were
yeah,
you?
I was a student. I was a student at the University of Lagos, and by 1992, I become the president of the student union. So our student union became, of course, became the most vibrant, and we were on the front lines fighting uh, for civil rule and the revalidation of the June 12th election. So yeah, but in 1993, I was 22 years old.
Hmm. Any
Uh, the
anytime,
picture that people popularly refer to me standing behind Abiola,
yes,
how I look like a refugee there from Somalia. So
I can imagine. Every time I talk about student unionism and your days in school, um, there is one day that kind of summarizes your activities as student union president, and I could liken it to the activities that happened at the Tiananmen Square in China. Tell us about your encounter at the stadium with the military, because that was a standoff that I've read about it, but it would be nice to hear from you what exactly happened that day.
well, that was actually in 1998, and at that point, Abiola had died, Abacha had died, and the military at that time said they were finally going to hand over power. So they sent their second in command, late Admiral Mike Ahigbe, to come to the Nougat Games at the University of Lagos to open the Nougat Games. And at that time, I was no longer even a student leader. I had graduated, gone to NYC, I came back. But I was still very much within the pro democracy movement, coordinating young people on the streets of Lagos and outside the streets of Lagos and also on campuses. So we had a demand, two demands actually. One was that we wanted them to promise us that they will leave power at their promise. But our major demand on that day was for them to recall all the students that were victimized under military rule. That was what took me to Unilag that day. And when we arrived there, they took us for granted.
Hmm.
Yes, and I mobilized students and broke into the stadium, the University of Lagos Sports Center, where there was a march pass. At the point we mobilized and entered the stadium, there was a march pass of all the schools coming and passing the military and saluting them. We're like, who are you saluting? I think we gathered everybody, just scattered the whole march pass. And before you know it, we had overwhelmed them. We brought soldiers, we came with Navy ratings to the place. All kinds of military people were there, but they were no match for our strength on that day. Eventually, they broke it up, and I got arrested, and I spent 2 weeks in Panti. First, I was taken to SARS detention center in Ikeja, and then eventually took us to Panti, where I spent 2 weeks in detention. They charged me for conduct likely to uh, disturb public peace. And I can never forget my lawyer on that day, he's now a senior advocate of Nigeria, Ebun Adeborowa. He came from Chief Gani Faweme's chambers. He was seconded to handle that case. Brilliant guy. So when we came before the judge, a magistrate in Ebutemeta, the judge did not know. This is very interesting. The judge did not know that you cannot foment, you cannot disturb public peace at a stadium and a theater. So instead of taking the plea, Ebun was very clear to the judge. He said, "My lord, you are perpetrating an illegality in your court." The judge was shocked. He said, "What?" He said, "Yes. You asked, what did they charge my clients for?" He said, "The disturbance of public peace." He threw the book at the judge. He said, "This is what the law says about disturbing public peace. It cannot happen at the stadium." And the magistrates looked at him and said, "Let me have the book." Took the book into his chambers, came back and said, "Well, whatever happens, I'm reminding them I want to go and study I want to go and study what the law says." And that was how the judge remanded us for 2 weeks on
Wow.
pant. Yes.
Just like
It was
that.
just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that.
All right, Omoyele Sowore, let's talk about June 12th.
Yeah.
Um, where were you just about, first of all, tell us what, uh, explain that picture where you are seen behind MKO Abiola, and then just take us right up to the moment of the annulment of June 12, where you were, what led to the annulment, and just the stories around that period.
So I'm revealing today I didn't vote on June 12th because NANS, the National Association of Nigerian Students, took a position that we don't believe in the transition program and asked us not to participate in the program. So I didn't know if I was on campus. But we also took a decision not to disrupt the elections because there were places on campus, there were voting booths on campus. So we just stayed away.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. So you actually have called for people not to vote in an election.
No. We said we didn't ask people not to vote. We just said that we don't believe in the transition program.
Okay,
That Babangida was
so
being,
NANS, you said NANS members should not vote.
yeah, they asked us not to participate. That was the position of NANS.
Okay. Okay.
That Babangida was just deceiving the public
Okay, go
with
ahead,
his
sir.
transition. So we didn't vote, but we also took a decision not to disrupt the election in any way.
Okay.
So we observed the election from a distance, and we called our colleagues all over the country, contacted them, and they said the elections were peaceful across the country, except in Ogoni land. Ken Sarua mobilized Ogonis not to participate in June 12th, and they didn't vote. Nothing happened in Ogoni land. Everywhere else, voting took place in Nigeria. So when the elections were conducted and it was concluded, everybody was jubilating. We were still warning them that until Babangida declares the results, don't jubilate. So, like play, Humphrey Nwosu was announcing the results. Everybody was waiting and waiting. And then suddenly Humphrey Nwosu disappeared. That was the next chairman, National Electoral. I think they abducted him or something. We didn't hear from him again. So at the moment we saw that happening, we started mobilizing students. And then one judge, before the election, one Basi Kweme, had ruled in the middle of the night that election cannot hold. But Babangida overruled her and said, there's a transition to civilian rule, law that doesn't allow any judge to interfere in the election. So then another judge came, like play, and said that because the election violated the order of the law court, something like that. One justice, Dahiro, also that they should they should suspend the collation of results, announcement of results. And then I think on June 27th or so, no, it was the 23rd, I'm not sure exactly. Babangida just appeared one day on the national broadcast and said it was like a joke that he had suspended the election and the election is hereby annulled. What? Of course, the next morning, every hell was let loose on Lagos, and I led that. And we occupied the streets. They came and opened fire on us. We took over police trucks, police armored tanks. Police joined us, soldiers joined us. Everything was going well, in terms of resisting the military. And you know, then they kept just pushing the position. And then on June 27, no, the thing went on. And Babangida just said, he will not accept. Traditional rulers, churches, pastors, everybody was going, they were going to see him. We were just fighting. And we were on the verge of winning when, of course, you know what politicians are. They started making negotiations and collecting money from Abiola, some collecting money from Babangida, collecting money from Abiola. And Abiola didn't catch it very quickly that this was a setup. Before he knew it, the same people he was working with are sold out to Babangida. People like the Oni of Ife of that period, the Ado Bayero of Kano, all of them, they were just saying that it is not the wish of God or will of God that Abiola should be president. All kinds of things. So we were able to connect. The leader of the coalition that led the whole fight was the Campaign for Democracy, led by Bekor and Sonkuti at that time. And Nance was part of that coalition. Nigeria Labour Congress initially, Pengasan, that's the oil industry unions, Nupeng, all of them, people went on strike, air traffic controllers, everywhere shut down, and when we couldn't march, we were organized sit-at-homes. We were winning. We were winning until compromises started to set in, and then Babangida was then forced out of power, and he said he stepped aside on August 27th, handed over to Shunekon. Shunekon last, we didn't allow Shunekon to last more than 84 days in power, and then Abacha came in and took over. But with regards to my appearance behind Abiola, on one of the occasions that we were protesting, we went to his house. I was student president and went to see him. They invited me and a few of us to come in and see him. And when we got there, he has this large sitting room. And I've told this story a million times. And all the politicians were sitting down there, from the east to south to west, all of them sitting down there. They were eating, drinking. Of course, Abiola was a money bag, so he had huge bags of cash all around him. He was just doling money out to them. Some of them will fall asleep, but they will hold on to their money. So it was the first time I came face to face with Nigerian politicians. And sometimes when people say that I have no respect for them, honestly, I don't.
Hold on, hold on, Mr. Sowore. You see, a lot of you ran for presidency under the African Action Congress, but every time you talk, you say the first time you saw politicians this. Are you not a politician?
No, I don't consider that. When they say somebody is a politician in Nigeria, it's like it's a scum of the earth.
It's like a cause.
It's like someone who is deceptive, dishonest, corrupt, untrustworthy. That's the people they call politicians in Nigeria. So when they say you are a politician, even if you are not in partisan politics, if you are discussing with someone on the streets and they can't trust you, they'll say, you're a politician. It's a street lingo for dishonest people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. You were telling us what before
So
you continue.
yeah.
Before you continue, there's a video that I have here. It's actually on your platform. This was long after. I think it was during Abiola's burial. And just because we were talking about Abiola's house, I just wanted to play this video.
All right.
Very soon, very soon, it will only be 30 minutes. And when it is 30 minutes, we are going to make sure that we render Lagos uncomfortable.
Okay, so tell us what was happening there, and then we'll go back to what was happening or let's just continue with what was happening in Abiola's house when you came in there and you saw a lot of politicians.
He saw me. He recognized me. He said, "Oh, student leader, how are you? It's good to see you." Because Abiola's language is money. He looked around to his left and brought out bundles of money. As we looked at it, it was about 800,000 naira. That was
Wow.
when the naira still had better value.
Which year was
So
this?
this was 1993.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Uh, and I said to him, I said, Chief, I'm not here for your money. I was in my bedroom slippers. That's how I went there. I was probably the worst dressed person in the house, apart from his. I don't even think his cooks dressed like I was dressed. And I said, Sir, Chief, I'm not here to collect your money. I'm not interested in money. We have a student union, we have our own money. We are fighting for our beliefs and convictions. No, he said, What? I'm not bribing you. I said, No, you're not bribing me, but I don't want your money. And I looked at the politician. I said, Look, Chief, all these people that you are seeing are sitting down here. They are going to betray you. They are here for your money. Of course, they looked at me with scorn. You look at who is this boy? Some of them knew me. And it's like, oh, that's the student union leader. You know. So after we spoke for a little bit, we stood up to go. And because I didn't take his money, he also stood up to escort me. And Chief Enahoro also stood up and he followed. As we stepped out of his house to go to our bus, here comes John Momo, who was who was the owner of Channels Television.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, John Momo was the reporter, the cameraman. I won't, don't let me exaggerate. He had a cameraman. He was waiting for Abiola. So, and he puts his camera in his face and they started talking. And I wanted to talk, but, we had to leave because a lot of students were waiting outside for us. But what I was trying to say was that was my first and last encounter with Abiola before he traveled out of the country after that and came back and he was eventually arrested, detained, and he died in detention. So
Wow.
well, we never stopped fighting for him. We never stopped up to his burial. We kept fighting because even the day he died, we had a match waiting for him to be released.
Yeah, because
But
that's the day he was supposed to be released.
yes, the politicians who were supposed to insist on his release were having meetings with what's it called, Abubakar, and he was giving them money. It's a story for another day. It's very sad.
Wow.
The serious story of betrayal. They betrayed Abiola to the last. Everybody possibly betraying the United Nations through Kofi Annan, uh, the Commonwealth through Chief Emeka Yanku. They all betrayed him. They went to Abiola while he was still in detention. They were pressurizing him to abandon his mandate. And for someone who is hypertensive, even if they didn't have to kill him, that was enough to kill him. But the next day, he met with a group of Americans led by Susan Rice, who was Obama's,
Chief of.
secretary. No, he wasn't chief. She
So,
was the representative of the U.S. rep at the United
yeah,
Nations.
UN rep. Yeah.
She was at the point, and she was the one who served Abiola the controversial Bongo tea.
Wow.
You know, he drank, and as soon as he drank, took the cup to his mouth, he started coughing and then gasping for breath, sweating. Next thing, he was dead.
Now, you just mentioned somebody's name when you were talking, John Momo, and we
Yes,
see what John Momo has turned into with Channels TV. What do you think happened? Why?
I think it's natural with people. John Momo came from a tradition that is not different from what he's doing now. The he used to be a newscaster on NTA. So, and then the belief or the rumor, I cannot confirm this, was that it was Babangida that helped him to set up channels. You know, some generosity from Babangida helped him because in those days Babangida was known as a donatus.
Yeah, so
Have donated at the minimum, he must have given him the license to own Channels TV, based on personal relationship and probably giving him some money. I have no information, but John Moma was not like a fighter for democracy. But in those days, he needed content to boost his appeal to his primary constituency, which was the Southwest. So I think that was why he was following the pro-democracy groups all over the place. There was a time John Momo was even broke, and he was getting monies from from foundations through the help of the CLO. I've met him before at the CLO where he was sitting waiting to meet somebody, to get help from some foundations in the US, Channels TV. And the next time I was seeing John Momo was about 20 years later. I could not even go near him. He had about 12 mobile policemen guarding him in Lagos. So they are part and parcel of the oppressive class. Don't forget, it was the same John Momo that made it impossible for me to participate in the presidential debate in 2019.
yeah, I was going to that's why I was going to say,
Yeah.
what is it that happened? What is his
Yeah.
personal
And
aggro with you?
yeah, yes. No, I don't know. I've always never really respected him, honestly, and I think he knows that. But I think some of them in the media also has this. They have this problem with me because of Sahara Reporters. It just felt like Sahara came to make their life miserable in terms of reporting the kind of news that otherwise they would have loved to cover up. Uh, and so this they just have that hatred for my kind of personality because I'm not afraid of anybody. I don't bow to any one of them. Um, and sometimes I think some of them see me as their competitor. But I've always told them I'm not. We are not doing the same things. Why would I be competing with you?
Yeah, that's right. Um, you see what unionism has become today, or is there even anything like student unionism? Because going by the kind of stories that you told us, your activities as student union president, and even after you finished, these days I don't hear about the activities of student union branches anywhere, either at the national level or except a few people at some state levels that are still. I mean, people like Comrade Juwon, I know him personally. I know all the things that they have done.
That one is no longer in
No,
union, but
no.
when they were defense leaders, they tried very well. There's also Femi Adeyeye, who has been expelled now from the University of Lagos for years and hasn't been reabsorbed. So there are some students, individual students, who are trying, but as a group, NAS has become a shadow of itself.
Yeah,
NAS is that's a shame right now.
yeah. It's very shameful. June 12th again. Back to June 12th. When
Yes.
you were when you were campaigning for the 2019 elections, you had you had made a statement about June 12th, And I think it's somewhere on your. I'm going to try to get that video. You had made a statement about what you were going to do if you were to be the president, and not long after that, the the presidency announced that they were turning June 12th into. Let me try and play that video because it's important people see this video because I want you to speak to that as we x-ray what this government is doing and its impact on the citizens and the people that they are using, people like Femi Adesina and his likes. So let me play that video and then we will talk a little bit about that.
1993, the man who won the election is from this your hometown, Abeokuta, Bashorum, MKO, Abiola. They annulled his election. But guess what? The people that betrayed him also came from Abeokuta. Chief Ernest Shonekan took the position from Abiola with no shame and called himself interim government of Nigeria. The government that the Yoruba people used to call Fidi Hair. My brain is history. I saw something. But we stood by Abiola Gidigba. The man, also an Abeokuta man, who eventually benefited from Abiola's suffering. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo went to Zambia and said, Abiola is not the Messiah. They betrayed him. But from that time, we knew where to stand when it is time to stand on the side of the people. He wouldn't even remember Abiola. Instead of choosing June 12 as Democracy Day, he went and created his own May 29 as Democracy Day. When your man comes to power next year, June 12 will become Nigeria's Democracy Day. We are taking back our Democracy Day. Take it back. Thank you.
So that was you speaking about turning June 12th into Democracy Day, and then not long after that, tell us what happened with the government and the announcement.
We were having a town hall meeting in Abeokuta, and that was June 3rd. And we announced in the course of it was as you can see, the hall was jam packed, and we were the only ones among the political candidates that did both town hall meetings and then rallies across the country. So when I was finishing up, I announced June 12th. I said, when I become president, June 12th will become our new Democracy Day. And the hall went up in uproar. And I also mentioned the name of people who are also Ogun State indigents living in Abeokuta who betrayed Abiola. And that was an amazing moment. Boom! A few days later, we hurriedly saw a press release issued by the president then, Buhari, that June 12th is now going to be the new Democracy Day. This was 2018, and I think that was on June 11th or so. They stole the idea from us, but it wasn't the fact that they stole the idea from us that was annoying, but the fact that they destroyed what the day represented, and that was democracy. Since they declared June 12th democracy, any vestiges or pretense of democracy has taken flight from Nigeria. They no longer hold free and fair elections. There's no more free speech, no rule of law, nothing. So that's the annoying part, and it's the reason why we changed gear and asking our people to look beyond those election dates and fight for their liberation, total liberation from these are oppressors who have kept their knees on our neck and have prevented us from breathing since 1960.
Okay, let's just move a little forward. Um, what are the lessons to be learned from June 12th? And are we learning that lesson, especially with our young folks? Are we learning any lessons from the June 12th, in forging ahead in where we are supposed to be going?
How do people learn? Is when they have history behind their back, and when they have ways of capturing and telling their own stories. Uh, these days, we don't have that. Everything has deteriorated. We have several outlets for sharing information, but people are no longer using it for public consciousness.
Mm.
See, when there was no Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram, no WhatsApp, as students, we're able to communicate, organize, and fight. These days, that is even simple to do that. People can't even use those tools for the simple reasons that it could be applied for public good. And that's frustrating. So it makes me feel like we haven't learned much in terms of lessons. But as I said somewhere else today, I've seen a different level of consciousness that makes me feel like people are getting the message. The question is that in getting the message, are we processing it for us to take action, or we're just getting the message so that we get bloated with, information overload and just move on to other things as we often do? That's what I don't know. I was on Instagram earlier and I was saying that though I see heightened public consciousness these days, I'm also very worried that the moment they bring English football or soccer and the churches and mosques reopen and BB Niger comes, public consciousness will just disappear with a lot of youths who embrace these social political distractions. And you see that during those times that nobody's watching, you will see the true color of the government. They'll come out and do a lot of crazy things uh, and make sure that nobody is paying attention. I remember when they arrested me last year, I was arrested in the heat of BB Niger, and that's a Big Brother Niger. So for a long time, even the DSS people were watching BB Niger in their office. They didn't have time for anything.
Oh my God! Is there really is there remedy for this our country, Nigeria? A lot of people used to say, "Hey, Chidi, you're always talking. Why don't you people come mobilize youth?" I always point them to the fact that you were there. Taking Back movement was there. African Action Congress was there. We preached, we talked, we did. People refused to come out. Revolution now, we were on the streets. People refused to come out. Is there any remedy for our people? Where are we headed for? What should we
There
do?
is. I think if all the good people in the world can join hands, if we can learn lessons from other parts of the world. For example, I felt good about what happened recently in the US with George Floyd and how that provoked conversations in Nigeria. I felt happy about the fact that a lot of northern youths who typically are on Twitter to shout others down because of Buhari are now themselves trending hashtags, to condemn Buhari's insensitivity. And this is what we've been telling them. But again, if all of this is not moved into action, it would have been a waste of time and space. So, but I'm seeing a lot of young people, and I mean it, young people in this country uh, who I've been in touch with in Abuja, elsewhere. Juwan and the rest of them are, I've seen campus units that are building on their own without the intervention or interference of NAS. And a lot of conversations are going on, progressive conversations. But I'm yet to see concrete action because, I'm a person of direct action. I don't want to stay forever just talking, talking. That's the reason why I don't do too many interviews these days because I'm tired of repeating myself all the time. I want to see action. And there's enough examples out there in terms of how people have risen to confront their oppressors to show that we can repeat and do the same here and get needed breathing space so that we can breathe here too. And I've
Why?
seen a lot of Nigerians who participated in George Floyd action in Canada, in the US, in London. Why can't we do the same worldwide for Nigeria? Because we have over 6 million Nigerians in the diaspora who can go out and protest, organize, and storm embassies across the world and
Well,
demand for things that we deserve here. You know, that's exactly what I'm about.
you see the irony of this whole thing. I never, like, it only now that you said it, because we're always blaming people in Nigeria and saying, why are you guys demonstrating for George Floyd when you should be demonstrating about things going on in Nigeria? And you're flipping it and you're saying, Nigerians in the diaspora, why are you guys not demonstrating about what is happening in Nigeria when you're busy demonstrating about what's going on about George Floyd? That's a very, very interesting angle to this whole discussion.
I can say because I lived I lived abroad for 21 years. I lived in the US for 21. I participated in every possible protest I can find. When they were doing Occupy Nigeria in here in Nigeria, I did. Apart from doing the reporting, I also organized like 3 protests, including that one that I went into, the town hall meeting being organized by that minister.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I remember that one.
so you have all these things out there that we can do. There's no excuse for us not to do something for our homeland, anywhere we might find ourselves. You know, it's legit, it's completely legit. And those who are abroad are in a better position to even organize because they are beyond the reach of the petty criminals here who think they can use police, DSS, and whatever they have to oppress Nigerians. You are beyond their reach. So use the freedom you have, I mean, the Take It Back movement basically started from the diaspora, and it came home. We brought it from diaspora and we came home, and it spread like wildfire. We traveled everywhere. You and I did some of the trips together, day, night. We went to all the people. We took the message down to them. That's why when you hear people say, "Oh, come back home," that's their nature. Those who are saying come back home, that's what they will ever say. We were with them in the university too. They will tell you they want to graduate. You know, there's always an excuse for somebody who doesn't want to do anything, right? They will put the blame on another person. You see some of them just say things that are outrightly outrageous. Like, oh, like they used to tell us, why don't you go and start from local government and things like that, Whereas the people that are there, where did they start from? Which local government did Buhari govern before? You can say that he was Minister of Petroleum Resources, was former head of state. Doesn't that mean that he should have experience coming back second time? What has that experience done for you? But Obasanjo was head of state before, came back, did nothing for you. You are seeing vibrant, educated young people who's got their head on their neck, rotating properly. You are always praying to go and look for a dilapidated, analog person to govern you. And when you find yourself in the middle of the ocean and the captain has abdicated, you will now call on the people that you said are not qualified, are not experienced, to come and help you fight your battle. When it's time to fight, you call on Sowore, you call on Shoyinka, you call on Falano, you call on Chiti, come and help us. When they want to contest, you say, oh, governance is not meant for activists. Activists should remain activists. you know, Go and run for, when I came out of detention, a group of young people came to see me in this Abuja. They came and visited me and said they came to ask me that I should run for Senate. If I can run for Senate, they will support me. I heard them. I said, so who is your candidate for president? Tell me. They were looking at me. Of course, they were sent by these other guys. I heard it was Fayemi that sent them. Gave them money to go and convince us to go to the Senate because they didn't have the courage throughout our meeting. There were about almost 15 of them. They didn't have the courage to tell me who their candidate was. But they have a candidate. They will be on Twitter, Facebook telling you to go and contest for, and they want Atiku to become your president. And when Atiku wins, Then they run into trouble because these guys don't know what they're doing. Then they have never run anything successfully before. When they start stealing their money, they will now be asking Sowore, why is Sahara Reporters quiet these days? Why is Sowore not protesting? you know,
Exactly. That's the next question I was going to ask, because a lot of people have been asking, why are you quiet? By the way, I really want to appreciate you. A lot of people don't know that you I don't know if I should say it there, but you've been down with the little cold and all that, but you had to force your way to do this. You should be sleeping and relaxing now, but you still went ahead to do this interview. I really want to appreciate you.
Listen, I'm not. They know I'm not quiet. They know I'm not quiet. We are dealing with extraordinary circumstances. So you understand? It's just like asking why was Mandela quiet for the years he was in prison, right? It wasn't quiet, but he had extraordinary circumstances that
I know.
prevented him from direct. But what you should ask those people say you're quiet. If Sowore is quiet, let's another 20 Sowore, 200 Sowore, 2,000 Sowore. Don't not even
Exactly.
not Sowore, bear your father's name. Speak up.
You know the funny thing? The funny thing is when you called for revolution now, say no, no, that guy is talking too much. Why did he say revolution? Okay, now that we are dealing with the extraordinary situation now, which every wise person should understand, they're saying, why is Sowore not talking? Why is Sowore not talking? Okay, what you that you have all the everything, why are you not talking? That's what I ask people.
No, the thing is, look, don't let us make it about people who because I'm watching your thing on your side, and over 380 people are watching. It shows that there are a lot of people who have interest. A lot of people, and but there's always a few cynical people who are perpetually there to discourage and dissuade others from taking action. Some of them are, I've said it, some of them are outrightly sponsored. Some of them are DSS officials. DSS has a whole unit that's on Twitter, Facebook. They infiltrate every social media group and WhatsApp. Just out there, it's called counter interpro. That's the word they use for it in the US against the civil rights movement in those days, where they bring in coons and Uncle Toms and blacks to say that, look, Martin Luther King, get out of the way. You are disturbing our life. God will God will deliver us. Some people will say Malcolm X is crazy. He's a former prisoner. And Martin Luther King's daughter, I think it was Bernice, did a tweet during this George Floyd thing recently and he said, look, my father was not always loved. All these people, everybody shouting Martin Luther King, and said, my father was not always loved. That was why they killed him. you know, it
Simple.
wasn't, it wasn't thunder that killed Martin Luther King. He was fired upon by an American, a white person.
Yeah.
So they make it look as if he's always loved. And that's what activists should understand. You are not always loved. It's not a beauty contest. It's not a, you can't be a celebrity when you are offending powerful people. So it's the reason why sometimes when people complain to me, oh, we just saw somebody wrote something about you, somebody just said something about it. Like, you can't be loved by everybody. It's not possible. But there are people who love you. There are people who love what you represent. What is the challenge is for the people who love you to stand up for what you represent to them. That is what is missing. Those people don't stand up. If you go to your comment section now, there will be a guy there who will be. I just read one who said, "Oh, you had a meeting with the government in DSS detention." He kept saying, "I have the details. I have the details." You know, he's distracting the rest of the people. He knows what he's doing. He might have been sent there, but he knows that there was no meeting between me and the DSS. In fact, if there's any reason why I spent 5 months there, it was because I refused to accept to any of the conditions that they even tried to bring before me.
You
When they
know,
sent the delegation that was led by Isa Funtua, Garba Shehu, it was revealed to the public. I refused. I said, you can do whatever you want to do to me. I am not giving up on my rights.
you know.
You can send me to
Sorry.
jail. I prefer to go to jail than to have an agreement with you to go and apologize. They didn't tell me directly. They went and told Femi Falana when they met with him, because I insisted they should go and meet Femi Falana. They should go and apologize and renounce revolution now.
See?
Some people have, like you said, some people have also said, oh, why do you call it revolution now? Why don't you call it something else? Oh, yes. Let's say we call it jubilation now. Would you come to the protests?
Abi?
Yes.
Abi?
Yes. Would you still come out of your house to the protests? We are saying that we want to protest to change our country. You are talking about the nomenclature it's giving. You are talking about the hashtag. It's not the hashtag that is their problem. It is the fact that they are evil in their nature and they know that we are after liberating ourselves. They can read our minds. Even if we say that it's a movement that's silent, no name movement, they will still have arrested me.
I know.
So if you like call it jubilation now, celebration now, they will still have arrested Sowore because they know that Sowore doesn't believe in nonsense.
Now, there's a lot of I want you to speak to, before we go to another topic. I want to speak to all the 27 years after the June 12th and all of those things that happened. We have a situation where there is so much violence. We see the activities of headsmen. We see people that have entered our country illegally because the governor said, yes, you can come, the borders are open. And now these people are a threat to our communities. I want you to speak to that. What do you think is the next step for people all over Nigeria, people in the south, even in the north where these attacks are also happening? What do you think people should do?
So this is what I was saying, and people disagree with me at the beginning. Now they have realized it. The problem of violence, occupation of land, is not confined to the South alone. The problem is that the Nigerian state has failed to do its number one duty, which is to protect lives and property, right? And if the government fails, it doesn't matter. When headsmen were going downtown and people were like, oh, let's hate Fulani. I told them that's not your problem. Your problem is that if you have a government, it will take care of Fulanis, it will take care of Igbos, Yorubas, Ibibios. And if you have a government that works for you, you even forget where you come from because the country will be working so well that I'm not saying that people will not believe in their culture, they will, or that they won't. But there will be a whole generation of people whose life will not be defined by their ethnic difference. That doesn't mean that we can't be diverse. We are not the only country that is diverse in the world. India is a diverse country. China is diverse. China is not, everybody in China doesn't speak the same language. There's canceling, or what they call it. There's ethnic Chinese. There's different Chinese languages. So this idea that we are the only country in the world that is diverse is not true. The other part of it is, that it's because Lord Bugatti put us together against that, which is very true. I have said this several times. Nigeria was not set up as a country; was set up as a business. It's the same way Ghana was set up. It's the same way Rwanda was set up. All of these countries, Africans woke up one day and found themselves, with different borders that they did not create, artificial borders created for commercial purposes. And contrary to what you hear from time, even from historians, that it was in 1885 that during the Berlin Conference that they divided Africa. They had already divided Africa before Berlin. They divided Africa amongst themselves way before Berlin. Berlin was just the place that King Leopold went to negotiate his takeover of a particular part of Africa, which was the Congo, where he was using to run his own business. So I understand that. But having said all that, you must understand that every other country also grew beyond the countries that have gained the kind of progress and progressive leadership on the continent have grown beyond that. Even South Africa here, whose apartheid was defeated in 1994, they are doing better than us. You understand? Apartheid in South Africa was there until 1994, after June 12th. So, which meant that if we had had democracy in June 12th, 1993, we would have made so much progress with our democracy now that we would have gone past all these people. Because if democracy had come in 1993, probably we would not have had an Abacha that drove Nigeria back by several years. We probably would have moved past the likes of Obasanjo coming back as president. NAS would have grown stronger. The labor movements, all of them would have had the breathing space to develop and guard and protect the democracy. But by the time we're having democracy in 1999, it's the same military guys that denied Nigeria of democratic rule and progress that midwifed, manipulated that democracy to produce the kind of results that we are dealing with today. 20 years later, we are just growing in frustration, as Femi Falana said today in one of his interviews. The only thing that has developed in Nigeria is frustration, no progress. So, people who are saying that Nigeria is an accident, a mistake, they have their reasons for saying that. Look, Chidi, let me tell you, the people who are trooping down south, yeah, are Margiris. You see, trooping down south has been happening since Boko Haram started. Since Boko Haram started. Because when there's insecurity, before insecurity, there was a Lake Chad environmental crisis. The Lake Chad itself had decreased tremendously because of environmental crisis. And what the leaders in the region could have done was to figure out a way to save the lake. So that led to a lot of migration. But don't forget that recently, Nigerian governors in the north started deporting their own people, the people they call Amajuris. So what the Amajuris started doing on their own, I'm not saying that there's no mischief in some of the migration, is to migrate to where they can find food. The migration you are seeing where Amajuris looking for a means of livelihood. And this is what I told Kanu when we met in New York, right? You were there. That when Biafra becomes a nation as he wants and wishes, how do you protect your borders, especially if you are doing well and you are surrounded by poor Nigerians, or whichever country surrounds you, whether it's Oduduwa or Niger Delta or whichever one, because Biafra is not going to be the whole of Nigeria, right? It's going to be, it has its own boundary, which is still being disputed, right? Which is going to be a major problem is where's your boundary? And that will spark another war in its own boundary war that could last for another 20 years. Anyway, but that's a discussion for, I told him, I said, look, where are you going to get the boundary to prevent the poor people? Let's assume that you create Biafra today, your electricity is working 24/7, employment is available, you know, your GDP is rising, and then that of Nigeria is going down. What do you think will happen? Everybody, professionals, everybody will be heading to Biafra.
Let me ask you the direct question. Do you support the agitation for Biafra?
I have always said it, and I'll repeat it here, that the agitation for Biafra is agitation for justice.
Okay.
And as a result, as a person who is genetically inclined towards justice, justice is part of my gene. I am in support of it. I'm in support of the struggle for Biafra. I read extensively about Biafra, what was done to
So we can't see all of you.
Yes,
We can see.
what was done
Okay, good. Awesome.
what was done to the Southeast, how many people were killed directly through bullets, and people were killed with policies of hunger, starvation. It was one of the biggest gang ups, you know. And don't forget that before Biafra, before the Biafran war, there was pogroms. Not about 2 or 3 pogroms happened, you know, of which people were beheaded and their heads put in a pot, and people had to carry them. You know, trains were waylaid, you know, and people were just massacred. So when you have that, and the Igbos, who they claim they defeated, magnanimously came back to Nigeria. But what did they? What did Nigeria do to them? Nigeria keep pushing them away. They are jubilating in 2020. Nigeria is jubilating over the construction of a second Niger bridge to Igbo land. Second Niger bridge. That bridge is not up to even 2 kilometers. You know, it's not 14 kilometers. It's not as long as the Third Mainland Bridge.
No.
Yeah, yes. So, but they want you. They want everybody in the Southeast to be jubilated. I even saw a guy one day on Twitter who took camera there. I don't like Buhari, but look at what Buhari is doing. Second Niger Bridge. Oh my God, second Niger Bridge. Second Niger Bridge. I say second Niger Bridge. We should be talking about
Not even as long as some flyovers.
not up to some flyovers in New York or Canada that they do in 2 months. You know, they have not even completed it. It's still under construction. Nobody knows when they will be completed. They want you to celebrate it. When we should have, fast-moving trains, cargo airports in every part of the Southeast, even like underground tunnels, connecting the Southeast with other parts of Nigeria so that businesses can flourish in the place. It should be our industrial hub. Even if you say something against the Second Niger Bridge, they can come and arrest you. It's like it's a crime. Your question is if I support Biafra, and I've said it.
Okay.
I support the cause for justice. I have expressed my concerns about how to go about it. To Nnamdi Kanu, you were there. And the things I've said before are things I'm saying even now. That, I don't think that the balkanization of Nigeria will solve Nigeria's problem, because what will happen is that every balkanized part of Nigeria will inherit his own thieves, his own armed robbers, his own kidnappers, his own rapists, his own murderers, assassins, corrupt people, and we'll go back to, So the revolution that we are supposed to fight together now, everybody will still need to go and fight that revolution in their own enclave. The rest of it is fleeting illusion. That, I even told Kanu when I met him, I said, in Biafra, do you think you can survive with these people? You won't survive 6 months with the kind of people that will come to Biafra. They will already, you can see what they are doing to him. You see how they are setting up internal, wranglings, where people are challenging and, setting up all kinds of propaganda that he stole money from them and things like that, And then I knew that was good. I know the federal government was likely behind that, because subsequently after that, I think because they didn't think that was effective enough, right? They now brought out a whole press release that the man is bad-mouthing them internationally, that they are killing Christians. Do you need Kanu to tell anybody that you are killing Christians? They said Kanu is spending $5,000 to kill Christians. But you are claiming that Kanu is stealing money belonging to IPOB. So where is he getting the $85,000 every month to spend on lobbyists to blackmail the federal government? All this contract. But I'm used to all those things. But look, my concerns are not things that is for today's conversation. I've discussed it. It's well known, and I've advocated that instead of fighting in small silos, we can all fight together and create a society where new leaders emerge, and these new leaders will, make a better country of what we have now.
I want to play this video.
Today's I'm here with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He's, as you all know, the IPOB leader, and we had a private meeting and also a general one, which will be published later. You all know that I've been passionate about, and he has also been passionate about, but on a different plane. And we respect those boundaries, and but we've had very, very useful conversations today, so that everybody that's aspiring for a just and fair society, can come together and rise up now and bring about an end to the sorrow and the suffering and the domination and the oppression that has become almost synonymous with our genes in Nigeria. So, as you all know, you probably haven't seen me with him because it's our first time of meeting. And those of you out there who think that we have such big differences that we can't talk, well, you know that when people have revolutionary minds, these minds meet and the bodies eventually do meet. So it's a pleasure to introduce you to that moment. More of this will come out later, and the statements and the video will come out also from our friend who monitor this meeting. So thank you so much, Kazi, for the meeting, and just say hello to our people on our side.
Yes. Hello to wonderful people that follow and listen to Sahara Reporters and my good friend here. Sowore. What our discussion has yielded today is a confirmation that people can come together, that there isn't much of a difference between that which we are fighting for, because there is justice, isn't it? That's what we are fighting for, is justice. That we know and hope that the people that found themselves today trapped in that contraption called Nigeria will one day be free. And it takes people to do it. It will come from heaven. We have to do it. We have the right to do it, and it must be done.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Hope we'll see you again soon.
Of course.
This is the beginning of a series of conversation that will be happening. You guys watch out. Thank you.
I went to bring that video because I know a lot of the people on our channel, a lot of our subscribers, are people who are interested in the two individuals in that video. So I had to do that. And one thing I must commend you, and I have that too about Nnamdi Kanu, is people tend to talk a lot. They tend, and it was you. Let me say it here. I remember when I'll come to you and I'll complain, you'll be like, Chidi, come, look. You go online and you talk to people, you knock people on the head, you criticize them. If you are in this thing, you have to make room for, you have to absorb people, let people also talk, because you talk about them. So it's something you have to take with the environment. So what I like is that in spite of what people say, in spite of the criticisms, you keep doing what you're doing. Nnamdi Kanu keeps doing what he's doing. Of course, I don't expect you guys to agree on every point. Nnamdi Kanu is always tweeting about you. When you were in prison, he was tackling the government. He was telling anybody who was saying any bad thing against you as somebody who doesn't understand what they should be doing. I know that when Nnamdi Kanu was in prison, you kept on tweeting, you did videos, you kept tackling the government. So I wish a lot of people would be busy doing what you people are doing. Even when you're not talking, they should be about talking instead of just criticizing and wanting to know what you said and what this other person said. I know we've taken a lot of your time. I don't know if you would want to take one or two call-ins, or what more time you can give us before we end the program. I know your time, this was supposed to be a 1 hour thing, but we have overshot by 26 minutes. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so can we take a few calls, or because I know I have exhausted your time.
Let's try. As you can see, you must have been hearing,
Yes.
call coming in. Yeah. So, let's take a few calls. Yes, if we can.
Okay, so guys, we're going to take a few calls. You're going to keep your call very civil. You're going to go straight to the point. You will have 1 minute to ask your question. The number is +1 647 989 2837. Focus is on the June 12th, but you're free, since we have Omoyele Sowore on the line, you're free to ask your question. We will take the questions that will come directly through the direct line, because WhatsApp will be cut off by the direct line. So we will take we'll take like three questions at the max. We will take the questions and then we'll give him an opportunity to answer the question. Like I told you, he's been. If you know what Omoyele Sowore had to put up to be able to talk to us, you will appreciate him sitting and talking with us. So we will wait. The call that was coming in was a WhatsApp call. That's why I didn't take it. You would have to call from a direct line because when we start talking with you on WhatsApp, it is going to cut off. So please call on a direct line. But before the call comes in, you want to just touch a little bit on the rape that is going on all over the place now because that is a trending issue in Nigeria. There's this talk about rape all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, see, the country is under a group of very evil people, you know, of which the pandemic of rape has become the latest. It didn't start now. It just happened that, it's social media is helping us to amplify the problem of rape. It's a society that has developed
Hold on.
as a misogynistic society, as a
Just hold
society
on.
controlled by men who feels entitled. If you want to discuss this, it has to be discussed from the bottom. The culture, even of people having house girls purchased from across the border, Benin Republic, Niger Republic, it's something that has to be discussed as part of the problem. If you know how big the rape epidemic is in Nigeria, or pandemic, I'll call it, you will it has to be a topic that's discussed for another day because
All
it's
right.
massive, and it's not something we want people to cut off to, but
All right.
it will come to leadership to put an end to these problems. It will come to leadership that has belief and respect in citizens and the dignity of everybody, particularly females, that would be able to attend to this problem. Not a leadership that believes that women belong in the kitchen and they're second-hand citizens of our country that can even take rape seriously.
Thank you so much, Omoyele Sowore. We have a caller here. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and please keep your question precise and direct. Thank you so much. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Olisibuka. Go ahead.
Yes, so just a reminder for all of us. June 12th is only an example. It's only a tiny example of the successes of the breakthrough, of the victory that the of the loop of victory that we are yet to achieve in the nearest future. So for those people who feel like me once in a while, who get discouraged, remember June 12 was the same way we pushed ordinarily like this together, and June 12 gave in. It caved in by itself. So just giving hope to the struggle, just giving words of hope that yes, the same way June 12 pushed in by itself, then giving that and keep giving until we get there
All right.
to a reasonable place. So
Thank you so much.
So thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, Olisibuka.
That's
Thank
just
you.
all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Olisibuka. Okay, so we will have two more calls, and then we will stop taking the calls. So two more calls, and we will stop. Um, the last person that was calling and this call was cut off. You can call back. We will just take two more calls. But while we're waiting for the call to come in, what would you say to encourage people who are giving up hope, who are thinking that this thing is not working, we are pushing and it is not working?
I have one belief that there's just one button left to be pushed, one button, and these guys are going to do it. They're going to push the trigger themselves. That's one advantage we have. That's something we never lose hope in. That they will do the job themselves of pushing the citizens into, they'll push us onto the streets by themselves, by their actions or inactions. So I'm very, very hopeful about that. And I just think people should keep organizing. But we should also not wait perpetually for them to do that. But when I say push the button, I mean that they are so reckless, uh, so arrogant, because that's the nature of unbridled power, that it's just a matter of time before they make the mistake that wake everybody up, and people will not go back to sleep again until they achieve liberation.
When you talk about them pushing us to the street, I saw something on Sahara Reporters about the situation in Aso Rock and the infighting. What, what is that going to be leading to?
Those ones are distractions. I don't believe that Nigerian politicians or people in position of power will fight themselves to the point that it will be to the advantage of the people. So I don't, it would be lazy on our part to expect that they will fight themselves and then we're going to pick power on the street. It doesn't happen. It has never happened anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, it's never happened anywhere. They'll fight themselves, but when it gets to the point where it would endanger their personal interests, they will reconcile.
I have a caller that let me see if I can get him on the phone. He's been not just a caller, but he's participated in a lot of what we do here in Toronto. And he's been wanting to call in. I want to see if I can get him on the line, and after that, we'll probably end the program. He is Dr. Okolo. Um, oh, he's probably on. Okay. Well, I couldn't get him on the line, but he's one of our guys here who have really helped with the struggle here. Nigerians know how to talk. We even when you are calling about people in diaspora demonstrating, we will call for demonstration. We will come out. They will pretend that day that they didn't know what is happening. And immediately after that, they will start telling you how you should have or should have not done it. Finally, I would ask you to speak about Oduduwa Republic, because a lot of people have been saying, "Hey, Sowore, what are you saying about Oduduwa Republic? Why are you not leading Oduduwa Republic? What do you have to say about Oduduwa Republic?" And just before you answer, I know that Kakanfo, in an interview, he was saying that you should have come to consult some people. That if you had consulted some people, they would have told you what to do. So I would like to know what you have to say about that.
That's Gani Adams. That's the person you are
Yes,
calling.
Gani Adams himself.
The question I have for him is, has he ever done a revolution before? So if I consult him about the revolution, where will he get the experience to teach me what to do? I don't want to address those kind of things. I know Gani Adams very well. We know each other. I knew him as far back as June 12th era, around 1990. I met him in 1994. I was well established at that time as a student leader, led a lot of protests. I was one of the people that helped them organize OPC, as it was, when he was somewhere in Mushin. There used to be 10 or 5 of them. He was a carpenter uh, who used to make coffins. And I'm not saying it to diminish him. I'm saying it as a truth of history. So he knows my pedigree, knows my intentions. If he's interested in changing Nigeria, he doesn't need me to come to. I don't need to write him an invitation letter or memo. Does he not know that Nigeria is due for a revolution? You understand? So I don't understand what he was saying, but I've not watched it completely, so I don't want to have a comment on that before I watch it. But that's just, in my view, his total right to express himself the way he prefers, and he must be given that right.
All right. I'm gonna have to end the program, guys. You can put your questions in the comments, and you can get answers there much later. We've been on for more than an hour. I meant for it to last an hour. Omoyele Sowore has another interview. He had two before this, and he still has some more that is supposed to be part of after this. I would really like to thank you for taking time to come and speak to us. You've suffered, you've been suffering, you continue to suffer. Um, uh, the, for want of choice of words, it is the suffering that got us in the peculiar circumstance that we find ourselves in, and even under those circumstances, you have continued to do what you're doing fearlessly. I would like to commend you, and just let you know that we are there for you. We are rooting for you. There are so many hundreds of Omoyele Sowores that have been multiplied. So, and that is something you must take pride in. And I want to really thank you. I want you to say some and a final word as we close this program.
My final word these days is just one word. Hashtag revolution now.
Revolution!
Now.
Revolution!
Now.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Omoyele Sowore, our special guest today. He nearly couldn't make it. When you're in Nigeria, it's either you're suffering from malaria or suffering from one thing or the other. And he was just recovering from one of those. You saw him drinking water intermittently, but he still honored us by appearing on our show. The reason why we brought him is these are the warlords of that June 12 protest that people talk about. So that is why we go to bring people like this. And also, these people have been fighting this battle since do you see when in his days as a student union president, it was 20 something years, and he is still fighting this battle. It will be interesting. I think maybe what we should do is we can take some calls. He's no longer there. It will not be a question for him. Should we do that? Okay. So you can call in, but Omoyele Sowore is not there to answer your question. You can call in and make your contribution in 1 minute, because I know I don't want to disappoint some of you. We can take a few minutes. Also, I will take your call. It will not be a question for Omoyele Sowore because he has to attend something else. But you can make your comment. You can make your contribution. Let me also go to remember the number to call is +1 647 989 2837. So I'm going to let people call in. So you can call in and just make your contribution. But Omoyele Sowore is not there. He's hello.
Hello, Speedy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to contribute to this day. My name is Darren. I'm speaking from Birmingham.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. My intake as far as the whole thing is concerned about Sowore
Yes.
is that Sowore has done fantastic for the country. It's not been appreciated, but actually there is need for us to actually galvanize the youth. It's the youth that is the problem of the country. And as far as I am concerned, Sowore should do what he's been doing. It's been very good. I appreciate him. In fact, we in Birmingham, we are galvanizing seriously to make sure that anything that wants to happen, let it happen. But the problem we have, we don't have any problem. We just want him to at least go and see his family and be freed of all this rubbish. But we need to work on the youth seriously.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job. And as for the IPOB of a thing, it's okay. Let everyone do what he wants to do. All is to liberate the country.
Yeah.
So Sowore is on the right track. Chidi, you've done noble yourself. But
Thank you.
kudos to Sowore.
Thank you.
And as far as I am concerned, Sowore is done noble as far as the country is concerned. If we've got 10 Sowore as far as that country is concerned, I think we'll be on the right track. God will bless Sowore. Wherever he goes, we are praying for him.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So, you know, a lot of people, I always say this. You see all these people who are activists, you see someone like Omoyele Sowore, before you can just come out and begin to just type nonsense, say this person, go and sit down. If you don't believe in this one, you're this. If he doesn't, what right do you have to tell the person what to believe in? You can believe whatever you want. You can approach whatever you want to approach, the way you want to approach it. Okay, if someone doesn't see things your way, that's still fine. Okay, there are things. Sowore cannot agree with everything that I agree. You can't believe it. There are things that I say and I do that Sowore doesn't agree with. But that is me. That's Dr. Chidi. That is what makes me me. I am about doing my own thing. The way that I feel will benefit humanity. The way that I feel. That's why you are actually seeing me talking right now. Okay, that's because I feel that by talking, by trying to bring him on the show, by bringing other people, I am helping us to understand where we're coming from and where we're going to. So you too should be about, doing these things that we're talking about. You should be busy doing all of these things than just criticizing, trying to say this person did that, this person didn't do that. No, that's not the best thing that we should do. We should learn to appreciate people like Omoyele Sowore. He has been in this struggle before a lot of you were born. Way before a lot of you were born, he's been in this struggle. June 12 happened 27 years ago. He started probably like 10 years before that 27 years. So figure that out. Okay, he started like maybe 37 years ago. So check it out. And some of us, we are 14, 15, 20, 25, 30, and yet we have not even done anything. We started this struggle from when we bought our phone and we installed WhatsApp and we have data. So now we're on social media and now we're getting to know who is this person and who is that person. That's not enough for you to just come and begin to just criticize people. It is for you to use that thing that you have, that tool you have. Your phone is a powerful tool, and ultimately what we need is revolution either way, whether they accept it or not. It is a complete shutdown revolution in the north, in the south, in the east. But as they always say, the revolution will not be televised. No way. It will not be on your radio. You will not see it on social media. No way. When the revolution happens, it is like Sowore said, there's one button. There's just one button that they are waiting to press. That button, the day they press that button, we're getting very close. With the killings that are happening in the south, southwest, southeast, all over Nigeria, with all those killings, with the rapes, with everything that is happening, they are getting very close to pushing that button. And as soon as they push that button, that is it. That is it. If the government was doing better, we would not be talking about what we are talking. Like they're making them want to accuse us of treason, of causing problem. No. It is the government that is causing the problem. You're the ones that are creating the problem. When you don't create jobs, when you marginalize people, look at you still be talking about Second Niger Bridge in 2020. Just imagine that. Okay, so if people are agitating for Biafra, it is as a result of the activities of the government. So you cannot blame the people. Okay, either any which way how you do it, the people will one day rise up and take their future in their hands. Whether they are going to be right or wrong, whether when Biafra is achieved, it is going to be run very well or not, or whether we have all things planned out, at least it is the right of the people. Let them fail trying. You see, me, I would rather fail, fighting for myself. Yes, like the way if if I go and cook my own food, it will not be fine. Leave my farm alone. Let me collect the yam. Let me collect the cassava. It's my own now. If I like, oh, I open the pot, carry the yam without cutting the back, carry tomato throw inside, carry maggi without unwrapping the maggi. Is my food, na me get am. Leave me like that. When he cook finish, I will eat it, chop it, belle full. Zebediah that time when Ovleria bring garri for am, come sit down beside of Zebediah look over and say, Mrs. Valeria, what is happening? You put the garri for me. Where's the soup? Valeria say, Zebi darling, no problem. I'm still cooking the soup. Small time the soup will done. Make you cuckoo chop the garri. Half belly full. When the soup done, I will bring the soup. You will drink it. After all, when you go inside, now inside the son's stomach, all of them go jam each other. So whether you jam them when you're eating or they meet inside, leave them like that for the man. You don't chop in food. So it is very, very, very important that we focus on what we are doing. Me, as you see me like so, as an Igbo man, I don't give up for the Nigerian country since. Let my people go. Let them have their Biafra. They talk to you gently, you didn't hear. They talk to you nicely, you didn't hear. They ask you for a referendum, you didn't hear. They tell you to change the constitution, you didn't hear. They tell you to build the Niger bridge, you didn't hear. They tell you to open the bridge in Calabar, you didn't hear. They tell you to open bridge. They tell you to open the port in Calabar, you didn't hear. They tell you to open the port in Port Harcourt, you didn't hear. They tell you so many things. They tell you to do, you refuse. You go bring what they call it? You bring loan to go and fix your place, and now you want our children and our children's children to come and pay for the loan that they did not benefit from. Waiting be your own. They don't do again. They don't do again. Okay, so make everybody to do their own thing. If they do and well, they don't do and well, no problem. Somebody's asking me for the number to call. We don't they finish now. But the number is +1 647 989 2837. Michael Observer. Oh my goodness. My chief is calling. I don't know whether chief is calling for the program. Chief, I'm live on air. Are you calling for the program? Yes. Because I'm live on air? Or you want us to talk later?
Okay.
We'll talk later, sir. We'll talk later. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you want to call, it is +1 647 989 2837. Michael Observer in the chat room. I'm going to wait for you. Once I take your call, we're going to round up, okay? All right? Please, Omoyele Sowore has done so much. He has done, people like him should be recognized. Don't keep waiting for what he wants. What he believes is what he believes. He's thinking about the whole Nigeria. He's thinking about people who are suffering inside Nigeria. Everywhere. He's thinking about Igbo people who are in northern Nigeria, Igbo people who are in the west, Igbo people who are in Igbo land. He's thinking about Yoruba people who are in the south, Yoruba people who are in the north, Yoruba people who are in the east. He's thinking about Hausa people who are in the east, west, and northern Nigeria. That is his cause. That is what he wants to face. Anybody, whoever you are, you can focus and you can fight whatever you believe in. If everybody was busy doing that, we will not have time to be we will not have time to be engaging in certain things that we engage here. We have 8 more minutes to go. 8 more minutes to go. I put the number out there. 8 more minutes to go. 8 more minutes to go, guys. If you want to call, you can call. And then Remember that after this, okay, okay. There was a broadcast by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We will premiere it immediately after this. We will premiere it immediately after this. Dixon Wallace said, Hausa Fulani cannot allow the revolution to take place. We are just fooling ourselves. The same way they will not allow the Biafra struggle to take place. Don't you understand? The same Hausa Fulani does not want revolution. They don't want Biafra. They don't want any of those things.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead, my
Dr.
brother.
Chidi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening from London. I'm calling you from London.
Go ahead,
My
sir.
name is Michael. My name is Michael Observer. I'm the one typing in the
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're the one calling. So close the show for us.
chat. Yeah, please. Yeah, I just want to make. I've been following your show. Yeah, I need to be honest. I'm not trying to sound politically correct in any way or in any form. You get me? I'm a proper Igbo man that was born and bred in Lagos.
I'm buttered.
Ajegule in Lagos. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
And I'm almost 40 years of age, and I can tell you from your right to your left how you. I can even speak Yoruba more than Igbo.
Okay.
Just to tell you. So you see, already saying what you say now. It's not that he's entitled to his own opinion.
Yes.
But for me, from where I stand, I will tell you that a Yoruba man does not see an Igbo man as a human being. Forget
See,
about what our
no,
parents
no,
told
no,
us.
no, no, no. Let me.
Hold on, let me tell you.
No, I can't hold
Hold on,
on now.
hold on.
You're my show, sir. Let me before you go on. You know, you are my
I'm
show.
not generalizing, though.
No,
I'm
you
not
are generalizing now. Hold on. You cannot.
That's
You
why,
can.
that's why I told you. Hold on.
What you can
That's
say.
why I'm
Let
telling
me. No. Listen, sir. Listen. Let me tell you
Yeah,
what
go
will
on,
help
go on,
us.
go
Let me
on,
tell
go
you
on.
what will help us. I am an Igbo man, and if a Yoruba
Go on.
man gets up and he says all Igbo people, I will stop
I'm
him
not
there.
saying all. I'm not generalizing them.
So
I want to be
what-
more specific. I told you where I was born.
So no,
I'm
but
trying
you
to
cannot
contextualize
see
it for
talks like that. Talks like what you're starting to say. It brings us to
Because
the
I told you I
lowest.
don't want to be politically correct. Dr. Chidi,
No.
I don't
It
want to
is
be
when.
correct.
No. Let
I'm
me tell you
telling
something.
how
Let me
it
tell you
is.
something. When you don't want to be politically correct, then what you will say is, Chidi, you are a wicked man. But when you want to be
How would
politically
I say
correct,
Chidi is a wicked man? I've been following your show.
no. What I want to tell you is that you are contradicting yourself. If you do not want to be politically correct, then you will be factual in what you're saying. But if you want to be
I'm telling
politically,
you my experience. How do you know I'm not factual in telling you my experience?
because it is not
How's my
possible.
experience not
Let me tell
factual?
you why you're not factual. Because it is not possible that there are Yoruba people who are married to Igbo people. True or false?
Hold on. We'll get to, but let me. I'm trying to
No.
contextualize
I
my
will let you
situation
talk.
for
I will let you talk. You are building a
Go on.
base for your discussion. We shouldn't be shouting. I just asked you a question. Are there Yoruba people who are married to Igbo people?
Yes, I even have an uncle that is married to a Yoruba woman and also to a Benin woman.
Okay,
He's married to
so
3 wives.
thank you
He's
so
got
much. So
Igbo-
let me
he's got
ask my
Igbo wives, he's got
let me
Yoruba
ask
wives, and he's got
let me
a
ask you my
woman
next
from
question.
Benin as well.
Let me ask you my next question. So can
Good.
we agree now that based on the fact that not every relationship between an Igbo man and a Yoruba man is foul, you cannot now start an argument by saying that there is no Yoruba man.
Chidi.
Do
Chidi,
we agree?
You know when you cut me, I allowed you to talk.
Okay,
to
go
make your
ahead
point.
and
Let me
talk.
make
You
my
speak,
point.
speak.
Let me make my point.
Okay.
You were born in the East. You were raised. I've been following you went to Enugu, University in Enugu State, somewhere there before you got to Canada and whatever. But you can talk from your experience about being raised in that location. Me, I'm telling you, I was born in Lagos.
Can I tell you something you don't do? Can I tell you?
Let me land, please. Let me land. Just let me land.
Okay, go ahead.
I've seen OPC. I've seen these people they call Odua People's Congress when they were hot in Lagos. How they intimidated Igbos in Ajegule. They burned Igbos alive. They burned
OPC.
people. In Alaba
That is
International
OPC
Market,
now.
They burned people. What are you saying?
That is OPC.
what is OPC? You know, an Oduwa People's Congress.
That's what I'm telling you now. So that's how to talk. You should say that OPC did this, not Yoruba people.
Yeah, I wanted to contextualize the whole thing. I'm giving you instances. I wanted to contextualize.
But your premises is wrong. That's what I'm saying. Listen, let me tell you something as a businessman. I run a construction company here, and the standards here are higher than maybe elsewhere. When you approach your client, the first word you say is very important. How can you start an argument by saying that and then you come again and you say OPC? No.
I was trying to contextualize it. I said, and when I was trying to make my
what
point,
you should do is let me
me
tell you what you should do. What you should do. Let me teach you, and I'm not trying to put you down. What you should do is this, my brother. Sometimes it is better to just say what you want to say the way you want to say than going around and just say that when you were in Lagos. You think you know me. You don't really know me. No. You don't know me very well. You don't know my interaction.
I don't know you. I only know you through your broadcast.
Exactly. So you
are
cannot even also draw your conclusion based on what. Let me before it looks like before.
I'm not drawing any conclusion. I was telling you my own experience.
Why don't you go straight to your experience? Okay, I'm going to stop talking, but I'll appreciate if you go straight to your experience. It will help our discussion.
That is what I wanted you. That's where I want to go. Where I want to go is that I want you to understand that as an Igbo man that can speak Yoruba more than my mother tongue,
okay.
I am telling you, regardless of any sample or any distribution where you get your sample from, I will tell you that a Yoruba man cannot conveniently live with an Igbo man in peace. The women can live with the men in peace, but once a Yoruba man and an Igbo man is there, an Igbo man remains a threat to a Yoruba man.
Okay.
Take it or leave it.
Can I ask?
That is my perception.
Okay, thank you.
I'm entitled to my own opinion.
100%, my brother. That's one thing you must appreciate in this show. You are totally entitled to your opinion, whether it is good or bad. It is now you get that.
Yes,
just like me. So
yes,
thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Now, what I want us to understand is these are the kind of things that do not help our society. Okay, if you say that even within Igbo land, you will find differences as you move from Wawa. Even within Wawa, you have caste systems, but moving from Wawa, from Enugu side and Nsukka down to Anambra, there are still differences. If you even get closer to Asaba, there are differences. If you go down to Anioma, people will continue to tell you that, oh, this person, even within Biafra, look at what we're seeing. Have we sorted ourselves? So when people stand up and talk like this, honestly, it's unfortunate, and that's not really what we stand for. What I try to preach, just like the last caller, but like he said, it's his own opinion. It is important that when you want to speak, you should be specific. I've heard Nnamdi Kanu when he speaks, and a lot of people are misunderstanding that. Nnamdi Kanu will say, Yoruba media. You heard me now talking about channel. You heard me talking with Omoyele Sowore, and we just talked about channels, John Momo. And we know the guy is a bad guy. He's a Yoruba man. So if somebody comes and says Yoruba media is bad, that's the person he's talking about. But you have to remember to add the media side. So when the last caller was calling, the mistake he made, he should have said that Yoruba OPC did this. Yoruba this, did that. And if somebody is going to make reference to an Igbo person, remember to add that Chidi Nwanyanwu, that Igbo man, stole your property. Don't come because of me, Chidi Nwanyanwu, that stole your property. Go and be harassing my younger brother who did not even know when I came to steal your property. Does that make sense? And remember, we're all trying to understand ourselves. Remember, we are not here to please you, to make you happy. On this channel, we try to make you, think. It's good to have all these kind of discussions. It's good to come out and say things the way you want to say it, but I think it will help us as a civilized people that when we talk with facts. We go straight to the point. Don't just just generalize and you go this way and you go that way. Then you get caught up in the middle. You understand? What are you going to? It doesn't just make sense. You say you grew up in Lagos. Lagos is the one that helped you. Lagos helped you. You had your primary school. Didn't you have friends? Were you not in that school? This is a state, an environment that groomed you. You know. Yeah, come on now. You play football on the streets. Yeah, you just denied all your friends. That's what the last call I did. You just denied all your friends. You denied your teachers. You denied everybody that you did something in Lagos. It's not fair now. It's not fair. Yeah, just check them now. It's not fair. Those are your friends. Your friends, if they're hearing you talking now, imagine how they will feel. Bad people are bad. Whether you're Yoruba, whether you're Hausa. Look at within the Biafra that we are talking about. Are you not hearing what people are saying? Are you not seeing people coming? Are they Yoruba people? The people that are talking now are they Yoruba? Are they Hausa people? The fight that you're seeing amongst are those people Hausa people? Ask me. So let's be wiser. Okay, let's encourage the people who are fighting for us. Let us somebody say Chidi is a saboteur. Okana Undongo. That na your business now, my brother. All right, guys. We will have to. We had our own Bakassi boys now. Everybody had their own. Every people have their own wahala. I would like that, like I told you before. Let's focus in our own place, solve our problem. Let other people focus their own place and solve their own problem. Abi, at the end of the day, we'll go find a meeting point. All right, my brother. We are gonna be ending this our broadcast, and we will invite you to come next time when we come live. We are not always gonna like each other. That I can trust you. That you can. Okay, I have a caller here. Let me take this caller before he thinks I don't want to take him. My brother, I had closed the phone line, but I just wanted to take your call. Can you tell us your name and where you're calling from?
Oh, good afternoon, Dr. Chidi.
Good afternoon.
I'm glad to speak to you this afternoon. Oh, you said that the broadcast has already ended?
Yeah, no. We're just about rounding off, but we can take your call because I saw you persistently calling. So go ahead and yeah, we'll end with you.
Oh, thank you for affording me the opportunity.
But you didn't tell us your name or where you're calling from.
Oh, my name Wale calling from Chicago.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I just listened to the gentleman who spoke, who was trying to express his views. I think he conflated a lot of situations he experienced. He conflated and he generalized his experience. It's a mixed match of everything. So I think he could not get his thought, put his thought together, and he conflated his experience and using his experience to generalize on how Yorubas and Igbo relate to with one another. And I think he's absolutely wrong. So that is my
thank you so much.
What I actually am calling, wanted to see. I've been thinking about this struggle because we have to be aware. We have to know what we want to achieve, and we have to think of the worst possible scenario. So my suggestion is, and I have been talking to some of my friends. So because if you look at the Nigerians in diaspora, we have a lot of Nigerians.
Hold on one second. You have to just give me a second. Stay on the line, and you'll speak after. Okay, just stay on the line. Yes, go ahead. Just round up so I can give another person a chance. He just called in. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was trying to express earlier, that we should think of the worst possible scenario, and since we have a lot of Nigerians who have had the military experiences all around the world, I think that it's about time that we have some kind of registry, a database for all of these individuals, because at some point we might need them. We might need the experience.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that suggestion. I'm sure people are hearing, and the people who can work
So
on that should will take a
on
cue
my
from
part,
you.
I will start making steps towards it, because I've been speaking to a few friends and colleagues. So I believe
Why
that
don't you
it's about time.
get in touch with me after this, and then we can continue with that conversation. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
you're welcome. Okay, my brother, you're on. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, and this must really be the last caller.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Kibi.
Oh, we can't hear you. You need to speak up
Yeah, can you hear me now?
perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Femi. I'm calling from England.
Okay, go ahead, Femi.
Yeah. So my own contribution is just that, you see, when people are coming.
Oh, we are losing you again, Femi.
Can you hear me now, sir?
No. We heard you on the. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that my own contribution. My name is Femi. I'm calling from England. Yeah. For my own contribution.
No, we can't hear you. You start talking, then we can't hear you. I don't know why. Uh-oh. You need to turn us off. I don't know what's happening.
Can you hear me now?
No, you're playing this video. You're playing the video on YouTube somewhere, so it's conflicting. You need to turn off the video playing on
Okay.
YouTube.
Can you hear me now?
No, we can't hear you.
But I can hear you. I've posted this video on YouTube.
We can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're so faint. So faint.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I said my name is Femi. I'm calling from.
No. Femi, whatever. Drop and call back, please. Just drop and I don't know what's happening. Okay. All right, guys. Tolerance. That's what we must preach on this waiting what am I even saying? Imagine just that the machine is really done. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can't hear you. Who is this, please?
Yeah. This is Femi. I'm calling back again.
Okay. Are you using an earpiece?
Yeah, I'm using earpiece.
So disconnect your earpiece.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Increase your volume.
Yeah. It's high volume already.
Huh?
I've increased the volume. Can you hear me now?
If we could hear you, I will tell you I can hear you. People cannot hear you.
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know, shout a little bit.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Just keep it like this.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Femi. I'm calling from England. I just want to say something here. You see, the more we divide ourselves with this struggle, the more it benefits all these big politicians that we are trying to face. Because we fighting against Sowore or fighting against Mazin and Kanu, if we are choosing side on one side, because two of them represent the same thing, two of them are fighting for injustice. But the more we are choosing side, the better it is for all these politicians that we are trying to face. Until we come together, when people were saying that Yoruba and Igbo, like I am now, I'm a Yoruba,
and my grandfather and another Igbo man were best of friends in Ikorodu. My grandfather is the one that sold land. They call the man is Odoluche. He always brings things from my own grandfather every year. Until now, this session when we are fighting against for Biafra or Dudua, that is when I hear that Igbo is not good to Yoruba. It just depends on the individual. Even in the family, brother kills sister. So hatred is everywhere. Until we let this thing go off our mind. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, sure, my brother. I understand you perfectly.
Until we let go of all this hatred against each other and we come together and take back the country. Because if we are agitating for Oduduwa Republic or the Igbos are fighting for agitating for Biafra Republic, they will just be killing us because they have the military power. Except we hijack the whole country as a whole from their hands. Then we cannot sit down together and decide which direction we want to go. But if we continue saying that, oh, you fight for Oduduwa, you fight for Biafra, how do we do it? These people own the power, they own the military, they own the judiciary, they own everything. But the more we divide ourselves, the better it is for them. So we need to come together, we need to let go of I'm a Igbo or I'm a Yoruba. So when we join forces together and we face them, the only thing that the politicians say, they fear is the unity of either Yoruba and Igbo. Look at it. When did the whole problem start? Immediately, Nnamdi Kanu and Sowore met together. They fear that something that will spring up after this, they won't be able to stand it. That is where they start feeling jittery. So we need to be orientating ourselves. Unity is what we need now, not divisive. Because when we are saying that you Yoruba, you are a coward, you are Igbo, you are this, that is what gives them power. But they themselves, at the top, they speak the same language, both Yoruba and Igbo. Yoruba is selling our own leader, Tinubu is the one selling us out. Now they have in Imo State, they are calling the new governor, what's it called again? They are calling him Supreme Court governor. And he's doing the bidding of all these Fulani that we are both fighting against. The fight is not just one tribe or one this thing. Every tribe have their own representatives working against their own people.
Yeah.
So we are no, because me, the day I've been following you, Dr. Chidi, and I like the way you make things. Even you don't just follow Sowore or Nnamdi Kanu because they just fight for injustice. You said that you check their background, you see them that they are worthy of following. Mm-hmm. People who come online say that Nnamdi Kanu is stealing people's money. Which people's money? Nobody is here to come and tell us which people's money. For Nnamdi Kanu, they are stealing people's money. No proof. Sowore is stealing people's money. No proof yet. And I said that you people, we are learned. This is computer era. You have internet on your phone. Use the internet to do your research.
As well, my brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. We must just close. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. So my people, it's good to have these debates. It's good to have these conversations and make we fight, but make we not come they bite each other. If you want to fight somebody, just use blow, give the person blow, fight. That's what they do. Fight, finish, settle am, then continue going. Either which way, how. Whether, let me tell you something, whether you are fighting for Biafra, you must fight, not be fight. You must fight this kind of call them janja weed. You must fight the federal government of Nigeria. Let me explain. I know some of you don't like to hear me say Nigeria. Whether you are fighting for Biafra, let me look you straight in the face and let you know there is no way you can get Biafra without fighting the federal government of Nigeria. They will not give it to you on a platter of gold. Now, true fight. Whether you are wanting to take it back, you must fight the federal government of Nigeria. Whether you want revolution now, you must confront the federal government of Nigeria. Is it clear? So, if all of us are fighting the federal government of Nigeria, the sooner we listen to each other and understand each other's strategies and how we can help each other, the better for us. On that note, I want to thank all of you guys. I love you. I love you. If I say the one way, like, make throw away me, make you just throw away the talk, just delete it, just delete the thing, just delete me. See, just come delete me for the picture. That's what you do. If I dey talk the thing wey like, just comot the audio. But for the rest of my people, it's still your boy, me, Chidi. See you guys very soon. Bye bye.